I want to talk to successful people and learn about the adversity they went through, how they got through it, what we can learn from it, and help us all collectively move forward. Underdogs don't stop. Hello, welcome to Underdog Untold. Thanks for joining me today. I'm laughing because that beginner trailer that we made, I showed it to my daughter and she started laughing and she's like, "Dad, why are you putting yourself in it?" So just so everyone knows, I plan on putting future guests and other videos of it because I thought it was a little silly and my daughter confirmed it. So anyways, welcome to Underdog Untold. I'm doing this by myself, no guest today, but I really want to just talk a little bit about why I'm so into underdogs and why I want to tell the story. Number one, I think underdogs have something where people are betting against them. There's something where they're being judged. They're in a scenario where it's like, you're not going to win. And so many underdog scenarios or many underdogs need to dig in deep to grab something that's in there. And unless you're in a stressful situation, you usually don't have to dig deep enough. But underdogs have to dig deep and they overcome adversity, they overcome obstacles, they move forward. And number one, that's many of us here probably listening or watching that can relate to that. Number two, I think it's unifying. I think when we talk about the underdog, even if a lot of people are betting against them, there's something in there that's like, let's go. I can relate to that. I had to do that. So underdogs to me is a scenario where we can all relate to each other, we can all encourage each other, and we're acknowledging the adversity and obstacles and challenges that we all deal with. And the reason I call it untold is because so many people out there, including myself, including really successful people out there, get to that point without really digging deep and sharing what they've learned. And so my goal for this show is to bring on guests who are very successful, but really have the opportunity to say, I didn't believe in myself and this is what I did. And there's a couple of guests coming in the near future where we will be exploring that things they did on their own in a dark room that they've never really spoken about. I think that's helpful for all of us to be able to hear it, to say, wow, that worked for you. I hope it works for me. So I'm going to talk about a few underdog scenarios that I've been throughout my life so far. I'm 46 years old. I've had plenty of experiences. I started writing a list of scenarios I've been in, and it was started at like 20, and then I got it down to 8. And so I might mention a few today. But the whole point is, I've been in so many scenarios where I thought I'd overcome it or I was at a level of success. And then I was like, whoa, why am I feeling this again? So, as you know, a background, my name is Navin Goyal. I'm a trained anesthesiologist. So, I trained for 12 years. And like many physicians, it wasn't easy. Getting into medical school is not easy. I worked very, very hard. And once I was in, I felt this level of success. I was going to be a doctor, no one was going to stop me. But then, middle of the first year, I was not doing well in a class. It was actually gross anatomy, where we dissect human cadavers, and that might sound scary, freaky, or exciting to some. For me, it was a little boring. And I realized, man, what is, I'm not very interested in this. And so I wasn't doing well. And so in the middle of the first year, I was doing well in other classes. I realized if I don't do well on this test, things are not going to go well for me. And I suddenly started questioning myself. Am I supposed to be here? I got into medical school, but did they make the wrong decision? Like, can I even do this? And if you really think about how silly or how real that is of, am I good enough to be here? A lot of us have been in those scenarios. And what I did was I reflected, I studied my tail off, I got past it, I did well on the test. And I told myself, I belong here. Now, I can tell myself this, but to actually continue to believe it, for me, I feel like sometimes we need to ask other people, hey, can you just give me a little confidence here, remind me of how I got here because I'm forgetting. And so that was a scenario where I didn't expect to happen. I think it happens to a lot of us, but I really wanted to share that. And that didn't stop. So I did, pretty well in medical school. I decided to go into anesthesiology, and I landed at a very reputable place called the University of Chicago. Very smart people, very great institution, a lot of research. Um, I got there. I was proud. I was so happy. We have something called match day when you get, you're confirmed that, hey, you're going to go into anesthesiology and you're going to go in this program. It's a very antiquated system, but I was honored to go. I show up and I look around and I realize, oh my gosh, so many people are way smarter than me. And the way they were talking, the way they just seemed um, buttoned up and complete, I started questioning myself again. So once again, I already went through undergrad 4 years, medical school 4 years, and I got into this program. And here I am questioning myself, am I good enough? And so one of the mindset shifts I did or I made, which I realized the last few years as I was reflecting on things, is I turned this intimidation into inspiration. There's so many environments that we're in where we're so intimidated, but if we let ourselves open up a little bit, ask questions from people that we feel like are very smart or intimidating and try to learn from them, that intimidation can convert into inspiration. And I've used that so much in my life where I am very comfortable surrounding myself with very intelligent, very ambitious, very smart people. And for me, it's like, wow, this is a resource to learn from. This doesn't happen overnight for many of us, but I just wanted to share that that started happening. And eventually I loved the people around me. I felt like I belonged and I did pretty well. I'm actually going to show a quick video on something. I was supposed to do this pre-recorded. And now when we're talking about an underdog scenario, as the host of an underdog show, it's pretty crazy to think about. But I'm not very good at pre-recording stuff. And so I was supposed to do this pre-recorded and just release it. And Sia basically, who's producing this and is on the back end right now, said, Naveen, why don't you just go live? I think you're going to be better live versus recording it. But I'm going to show you a little clip on something I was trying to do a couple days. Sia, do you want to show that? Hey, I'm Navin Goyal, the host of Underdog Untold. A lot of folks ask me why underdogs, and I'll tell you why I like underdogs. Number one, I'm an underdog, and I feel like a lot of people I talk to are also underdogs. They are a team who is trying, and I feel like, oh my God, I'm going to take a break for a second. Okay. I'm Navin Goyal, the host of Underdog Untold. I hope you'll join me on this journey of learning, motivation, and I'm Navin Goyal, the host of Underdog Untold. I hope you'll join me on this journey of learning and motivation, and I hope you. Oh my goodness. I'm Navin Goyal, and I hope we can learn together. Yeah. Yeah, I'll learn that. I'm Navin Goyal. Let's continue to learn together, meet different people, and share our experiences with others. We all need help, and I'm happy to be your host. That was horrible. I'm Navin Goyal. I'm an underdog just doing this show, Underdog Untold. This is my first time. All right, so yeah, I can laugh at myself, so I think that's successful in that aspect. But Sia, thanks for taking embarrassing clips and making it into an entertaining piece. I appreciate that. I'll tell you a few stories, a few more stories, because I have a long list of underdog scenarios. I did launch a book called Physician Underdog that's behind me, and when I was growing up, I sucked at writing. My English teachers were like, Naveen, I'm going to have to talk to your parents because you're not doing a really good job writing your essays. I didn't read. My parents wanted me to read, but I never read. I only read what I needed to for school, never read on a leisure kind of aspect. I actually started at the age of 31 reading, and now I'm such a book nerd worm that I can't get enough of books and learn. But when it came to writing a book, which I never really thought about, the first scenario that popped up was um, one of these medical journals or medical publishers reached out to me and said, "Can you write a book on innovation in anesthesiology? We see that you've done a lot of crazy things outside of anesthesiology, and we don't get a lot of background, people with your background." So I wrote, I'm like, I don't know how to write. I know how to talk. I'm that passionate about this stuff. And then one of my colleagues said, "Naveen, you can get an editor. Write what you care about. You obviously care about this stuff." And so I started writing. And what was really empowering was the editor basically took some of my jumble and some of my runoffs and just tweaked it a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, this is writing." And so when I can write about something I care about, which I think a lot of us, if we can talk or write about things we care about, there's a lot more natural flow of ideas. And that's what happened. And I ended up doing it over 2 years, writing a lot of things that I care about, the stories of becoming a physician, leaving the physician kind of clinical world to get into venture capital and to continue building and investing in impactful companies. I ended up writing that book. I self-published it because there was a few publishers who wanted me to change my narrative to say, "It's not salesy enough, Naveen," or could you double the length of this book? And I said, "No, this is my heart and soul that I poured out for 2 years." I self-published on Amazon a couple years ago, and admittedly, I haven't sold a bazillion books at all, but the ones who have read it said it resonated with them, and they understand kind of the some of the adversity that I dealt with that can, a lot of people can relate to. So that was pretty cool to hear. Now, you could label me as an author, but I'm still that kid who couldn't write, who had a lot of confidence to write a book with a lot of help. And if you really take those ingredients, you can make a nice meal in any industry. So I'm an author technically, but I feel like anyone can do it if they want to write a book. Um, Another scenario where I feel like I was an underdog, and this is Naveen here. I get excited about things and I push the gas pedal and I say, "Let's do it." So going back to medical school, I was in pathology class, which was another class I didn't like, and myself and my classmate were planning an 80s party. We were listening to 80s jams. Eddie Murphy, "My Girl Wants a Party All the Time" is one of my favorite songs. And we started singing. I started singing, and my buddy's like tapping the desk. This is during a pathology medical school class, yes. And he's like, "Naveen, you have a pretty good voice." I said, "What are you talking about? We're just singing." He said, "Why don't we come to my apartment afterwards?" He played the guitar, piano, etc. He's a musician, and said, let's jam." So we started playing and I started singing. And he said, "You have a voice." And I was like, "Maybe I have a voice. Yeah, maybe I have a voice." So fast forward, Naveen style, I start asking people, "Hey, let's start a band." This is during medical school where just told you I had some trouble studying, and I had to like question why I was there. Um, but we got through it. I think it was a good dose of stress relief. We called our band O Face, and then we pushed the limits a little bit and said, "Why don't we do a show? We'll raise some money for the American Cancer Society is who we picked. So we'll have fun. We'll raise some money for an organization we care about and entertain." Fast forward, I'm on stage. Couple hundred people show up because people found out that I was singing. I'm now in a scenario where I'm like, I can't really sing very well. I'm having fun. It's maybe not piercing your ears, but I'm not a singer. And now all these friends that I went to college with and med school are all staring at me waiting to sing. Talk about a scenario where I put myself in that I felt like an underdog because I wasn't meant to sing. Anyways, I took that belief or that doubt away for a few minutes, started singing, and we had a great time. And no one's ever come up to me and said, "Naveen, you're an amazing singer. You should go pro." Fine. But people said, "Hey, that was fun. You were great." And it was another lesson of exploring something new. I feel like I fell on my face a few times, but I'm alive and well, and now I have really good stories. And one caveat thing I will tell you is for that show, because I knew there were going to be some people coming that, I grew up with. I thought it'd be fun. I dyed my hair blonde. And do you know what it takes to dye black hair blonde? It takes about 2 hours worth of burning sensation in your scalp. So I went to someone, I said, I want to be blonde. They're like, okay, but you need to wait this out because if we cut it short, it's going to be orange. And so I said, okay. So an hour and a half in, my scalp is burning. Like I'm like, oh my God, this is hurting. And she's like, we can wash it out, but it's going to be orange. And I said, no. So I'm pure blonde. I go and on that stage, and like I told you, I was already doubting myself of singing, and now I have blonde hair. So, oh, and actually, one more thing. The show was great. It was on a Friday night. By Sunday, I realized I need to do a patient side clinical exam as a student, and I'm not going to be walking in with blonde hair. So then I go to uh, a local store to dye my hair back black. And so I didn't succeed 100%. I had a couple blonde streaks and I do my clinical exam. Now, if people are questioning, Naveen, were you really meant to be in medical school and be a doctor? I think I was, but I was very distracted and I found fun in a lot of different ways. Maybe because I just needed that stress relief. So that's another scenario. And then I have a bunch more, but I think the last thing is parenting. I think parenting is one of the biggest underdog scenarios. And actually, sorry, I'm seeing a lot of these comments right now. Where's the photo? I do have photos. I'll post them on LinkedIn sometime. I've been waiting for that because it'll freak people out. It's literally me like singing like that with complete blonde hair and all black. Um, and so thank you for joining. So I'll go with my last underdog story. I'll kind of go from there. But appreciate Raquel, Sally, Mike, all joining and engaging. Um, I think parenting is one of the largest underdog scenarios we're in because if anyone's a parent out there or been in a scenario where they can relate, we're still trying to figure ourselves out as adults, right? And when you decide to have kids, and so I have two daughters, they're 15 and 13 right now. So they're now little adults and they're asking me questions. They're saying, should I do this? Should I do that? I need this, I need that. And as a parent, and I can probably speak for my wife as well, we're trying to just sometimes survive as well. We're trying to go to work. We're trying to be good to each other as a spouse. We're trying to be responsible for our children and be present while being distracted by everything. And so I feel like parenting has been such an underdog scenario because we also look at people around us, people on social media, people in the news, just what you thought of maybe your parents or guardians of like, they were so good and what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I've been a parent for, 15 years now, so I have less doubts. But what a scenario where there's no really roadmap on how to be a great parent when we're still trying to figure out how to take care of ourselves. So I just want to acknowledge that to all the parents out there, even all the kids out there or someone who's planning on being a parent or adopting or being in that mentorship role where we doubt ourselves if we can do it and if we can bring value and experiences and help for others, we can do it. you know I really believe so. My daughters are old enough to tell me, Dad, thank you for that, thank you for that. I needed the hug. And I feel like when we talk about these roles of responsibility and being a mentor or a teacher, we have a lot to contribute to other folks with different experiences. So I just want to encourage that for other people, whether you're parenting, mentoring, teaching, being a friend, being a loved one, or just giving some time to a stranger. We have a lot to offer. But anyways, I'm gonna pretty much end this. I'm not gonna say any more stories because I think throughout the show, as I bring on guests, I'll continue to share some of my stories. A lot of us do have our underdog scenarios. We can use this strong mindset to dig in and overcome our own adversity and obstacles. And if we have stories to tell, let's tell them more often. Let's post about them. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's talk about it in private, in public as we can, because other folks, other adults, and a lot of kids need to hear that life is challenging and we need to lean on each other, ask for help along the way, and keep moving forward. I really thank the guests that have joined, and for the people who will eventually watch or hear this. And I look forward to bringing this show weekly, especially after the holidays, with some great guests. Keep you entertained, keep you motivated, and I look forward to learning from you. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this show and want to continue to learn more, follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Help us tell these underdog untold stories by sharing it with people who could learn and be inspired from it. Remember, underdogs don't stop.